we can have this recording sent out to everybody. Super excited for today's topic. Emily and I were just talking about, like, it's AI, right? Like, it's the thing that haunts us, that we all are either just getting good at or afraid of. We know we should be using, but it's, all the incredible things that it can do for us if we use it the right way. So for those of you guys who don't know me, most of you guys have seen me on this webinar or when you joined our network. My name is Deanna Haas. I am our SVP of Agent Success for Sold.com. And like I said, I'm super excited to have Emily Terrell with us today. She's going to be diving into all things AI to really help you guys position yourselves better and work smarter, especially as we start to kind of put plans in place for 2026, right? Like 2025 is essentially done. Couple housekeeping items. Chat. I see a lot of you guys already chatting in chat. This is live, so ask your questions. Number two, something we've never done before. We are going to be doing a raffle at the end of this webinar. So not only is Emily's content going to keep you so engaged that you're going to want to stay through the end, but as an even extra incentive, we are going to be raffling off a free zip code for the year. I'll explain what that means near the end. But for those of you guys who have been in our network for a while, this will give you the opportunity to win a free featured zip code for the year. And again, I'll highlight that at the end as we go through it, but you do need to stay on till the end of the call. So Emily, without further ado, I hand the microphone over to you and take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Guys, I am really pumped to be here today. I've got a lot of content that I'm going to go through. So do keep that in mind. Now, if y'all wouldn't mind, where's everybody from? I do see some people saying good morning and saying hello, but where are you guys actually from? I like to kind of know just where everybody's tuning in at. I'm actually from San Antonio, Texas. So it's a little bit hot still here. We're not quite in the fall weather yet. That'll be December time that we actually get some nice cool fall weather. So without that, we are going to go through a lot of stuff. Now, I am really good at being able to check the chat. I do see we have a lot of great people coming from everywhere around here, Wisconsin, Houston, North Carolina, Vegas, Nebraska, everything from there. But as you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Once it comes up, I will be able to get an answer for you to make sure that I'm answering these questions. And then at the end, I'll open it up. So if people do have some extra questions, we'll make sure that we get everything answered for you so that you're not walking away with this with anything. Now, just to preempt this, to answer some questions already that you're going to have. Number one, are you going to get the slides? Yes. In fact, I've already emailed them over to Deanne so she can send those out to you right when we're done and get that for you. Number two, as she mentioned, do stay all the way to the end. For one, I've got some really cool content that goes all the way through the end. But number two, we also want to make sure that you do get an option to answer that poll and get some information about what Sold.com is about. And then make sure that you get entered to win that free zip code for a year. And then in addition to that, I will have some QR codes. But again, don't stress if you miss them, because you will get the slides, so you'll be able to see them afterwards. So without saying all of that, let's actually get started, because I do have quite a bit of information to go over with you guys today. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time. So let's go over here. Okay, so as you guys have heard, I am Coach Emily Terrell. I am from the Tom Ferry organization. I've been a coaching client with Tom for about 10 years, and I've been coaching and speaking with him for about the last 4. That means that I get to come and join people like you guys and get some information, pass along a lot of information of stuff I'm going with. Now, if you do want to reach out to me or you want to connect with me, the best place to reach out to me is on Instagram, because sometimes what I find is that people do have questions after. They have maybe a clarification question, or they're looking for something that I've shared before, and they're just wanting a little bit more information. So do reach out to me on Instagram if you have any questions. And also, if you are, putting any posts or videos, please feel free to tag me. I'd love to be able to tag with you guys and just connect. Okay. Now, in saying this, I want to ask you this question. If you got 10 new Sold.com leads right in this second, how many of those would you actually be able to personally follow up with in the next 5 minutes? Right? And what's the answer to that? Right? The answer is probably not that many, maybe 1 or 2, but in 5 minutes to reach out to 10 leads, let's say 1 or 2 of them answer the phone, it's going to take a while. right? Some people say all of them, but I promise you, I do realistically coach, and it's a lot harder to follow up. You say you want to, but being able to follow up with those quickly sometimes can take time. Now, here's my question in saying all of them. What happens if, you get these leads and you're at a listing presentation? Are you going to be able to follow up with them? Are you going to be able to stop what you're doing and say, oh, excuse me, Mr. Seller, let me answer these leads? Probably not, right? You'll have to wait to get those. So let's talk about what you can do in order to do that. Now, I do want to share some stats with you guys. Did you know that 44% of agents stop reaching out just after that first attempt? Right? They're going to reach out that very first time, and then after that, they're done, right? 44% of agents stop. What's crazy about this stat and what's kind of alarming, a little bit alarming, is that 65% of the deals happen in real estate after 8 or more touches. That's kind of a big deal, right? Having so many touches, you have to have at least 8 touches for majority of the deals to happen. That means that most agents aren't following up more than that first time. And then in addition to that, most agents aren't following up to the 8 where 65% of those deals happen. So what do we need to do? How can we change this? How can we change this narrative, right? And of course, if you're thinking AI, then you're right, right? And what are some of the problems? Why do we miss this, right? Why do we have these missed opportunities? It's because we have a couple of things, right? We have a lack of time, and maybe it's the time in that you're just busy. You're out showing homes, you're out doing other stuff. You don't necessarily have the time. You also have a lack of consistency. And then not necessarily my favorite, but one of the most common things is a lack of organization. So in saying that, right, in saying that lack of organization, what can we do, right? What can we do to actually do this? Well, the good news is AI is a great tool to do this. Now, does anybody know when AI started, when ChatGPT started? It's actually November 30th of 2022. Now, when ChatGPT started, it actually opened up as a beta for the general public. They started doing some testing to see how many percentage of agents are actually reaching out and actually using AI. And the truth is that most agents, and it's about 80%, 80% of agents actually state that they are using AI in their business. Now, of those 80% of agents that are using AI within their business, majority and an overwhelming part of what agents use AI for is listing descriptions. Now, with listing descriptions, it actually comes out to about 82% of what they're using it for. And AI can do so much more. So today, we're actually going to go over and answer some of these questions of how you can actually use AI to help with the leads that you're getting from sold.com. Now, of course, you can apply this to other leads. You can apply this to other online leads. But since we're working with sold.com, I'm going to talk specifically about them today. Now, to answer one of the questions, this is a live event, but don't worry, there is a recording. So if you're wanting to watch it afterwards, you'll get access to it. So, okay, let's go back to my slides here really quickly because we're going to start getting into some of the little bit heavier stuff so that we can get a little bit faster. And yes, Renee, it is being recorded, so you do have access to it afterwards. So let's look at some of the challenges and some of the examples and solutions that AI have. And now I am going to go deeper into these, but I wanted to kind of give you guys just a general idea of some of the stuff that we are going to go over today. So one of the challenges that we face when we're working with online leads, sold.com leads and other online leads is slow response times, right? Maybe we're busy, maybe we're doing something else. So what's the AI solution? It's going to be those instant replies and those texts based on that specific lead source, right? And some of the solutions or tool examples are Zapier, ChatGPT, high-level follow-up boss workflows. Now, in addition to that, the second challenge that we're running into when we're looking at online leads is going to be leads getting lost. I don't know about you guys, but I've gotten leads before where they didn't end up in my CRM. And not just online leads, I'm talking about leads forever. I've been doing real estate for about 10 years, and there have been times where I got a lead, no matter where it's from, and I didn't remember it. So one way to make sure that we're keeping track of that is by using some AI solutions, such as smart CRM tagging and automated reminders. And those can be done with things like the Follow-Up Boss Smart Lists here, Interactive HubSpot, CRM, and ChatGPT. Right? Now, in addition to that, we can look at some generic messaging, right? That's often one of the big problems that we're having with people using AI is that they're creating very generic messages and consumers are realizing it. So there are other options, and I'm going to show you really closely on how to do that, right? How to create that human style communication. And some of the tools or examples that you can use are something like Revi.ai, which is a Tom Ferry AI platform. ChatGPT, of course, and then I like to, for better prompts that make you sound more human style, using a tool called weeklyrealestateprompts.com, right? It's a library of prompts that can help you reach specific solutions. Now, in addition to that, the last challenge that we're going to run into when we're working with these online, sold.com leads is going to be that long-term nurture. Remember, I said that 65% of the business is done after 8+ touch points. And in most cases, agents, almost half of them are stopping after number 1. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, the statistics of getting to all the way to number 8, only about 10% of agents actually get all the way to 8 or more contacts, meaning that 10% of the agents are doing 65% of the transactions. Now, what are the AI solutions for that? It's going to be those automated monthly check-ins and AI crafted marketing updates. Those can use some different tools like ChatGPT, Google Sheets, Canva, Magic Write, high-level campaigns, right? Now, I'm going to go over some of these tools and how we can actually move them so you've got a little bit of a more detailed information. Right? Now, somebody did ask, he said he uses YLopo AI voice calling and AI texting with follow-up boss. That's fantastic. I'm going to give you guys a few options and solutions here today, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the only option or solution for you. So what you're using and what helps you get faster, automated, and gets to those leads faster and stay long-term is the perfect solution for you. So now let's get into a couple of steps that I recommend following, and we'll actually go into these a little bit deeper, right? So remember, we're going back to that question, and we're starting the question with, if you got 10 new sold.com leads right now, how many would you be able to personally follow up in the next 5 minutes? Now, I'm going to say that answer should almost, at this point, if you don't have stuff set up, it's probably 0 because you're on this webinar, right? And if you're on this webinar, you're probably not going to realize that your phone is going off. Well, hopefully you do, but you may not want to take the time to actually go through and call all of those in the next 5 minutes, right? Or like I said, maybe you're in you're on a listing appointment or you're talking on the phone to somebody else and you won't be able to get to them. So we need to figure out a solution for that. In addition to that, of those 10 new leads, after you do get a chance to reach out to them within the next 5 minutes, how are you going to set them up for long-term success? So we need to make sure that we're actually setting that up for success. So let's talk about step 1, and that's going to be how to respond fast. I don't know about you guys, but speed to lead is important, right? It actually increases your conversion rate by getting to someone quickly. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times we'll call it a wild hair, right? I'll get a wild hair that I have decided I want to get a new car because most likely I saw a reel on Instagram or TikTok and it's a car and I look at the car and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that car. And then next thing we know, my husband's driving me to the dealership because we're going to go look at this car. And that happens quite often. But one thing about me, and it's true about most consumers, is if you don't manage to get me in that moment, when that dopamine hits me where I want to buy a car, I'm probably not. And most sellers, when they're clicking those buttons and they're going through the steps, mainly because I also did, I tested out, the steps it actually takes to, fill out a form on sold.com. It's not just an accidental click. There are several questions that a home seller needs to get to in order to become a lead with sold.com. So because of that, because it is an act of actually doing it and that dopamine hits them right then, we need to make sure that we're responding to them in the time that they are ready. It's kind of like I tell my sellers, if they, if a showing is scheduled, to do everything you can to honor that showing, because if you tell a buyer no and you ask them to reschedule, they're probably not coming back. So we want to make sure that we are treating these potential buyers and sellers from sold.com, we're treating them, these online leads, in that same manner. Right? So how do we do that, right? How do we trigger these AI-powered messaging the moment that leads arrives, right? Well, there's a couple different things. And of course, if you figured out your answer is AI, then you're absolutely right, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a Zapier. Zapier, it's the same thing. It's a heavy debate of actually how it's said. But Zapier, we're going to set that up. And what that's going to do is go into ChatGPT. So it's going to set up this automatic text that's going to be written, that's going to be customized. And I'm going to show you just a very quick example. It doesn't have to be this exactly, but a quick example of how you can set that up. And in addition to that, that's going to then go into Follow Up Boss, or I put Twilio there. Now, I'm going to mention the word Follow Up Boss quite a bit because it's a CRM I'm familiar with and I can say it. That doesn't mean it's the only option of where these leads can go, but it is one option, right? So setting up the Zapier, ChatGPT, and Follow Up Boss to actually send out those text messages right away is an important factor. Now, an example message is something along the lines of, hi, Emily, thanks for reaching out through Sold.com. I'll be in touch shortly, but are you free for a quick call this afternoon? Now, why do we set up a message like that? We set up a message like that because this way people they understand why we're reaching out to them through that specific platform of Sold.com so that they understand who this person is. Plus, this way also it puts that phone number there so that when we're calling them, they'll see the recognition of that phone number and they won't just think the call that's coming in is spam. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting about, I would say 40 spam calls a day right now. Doesn't matter if I put myself on the do not call list, it's going into that spam call. So the post step is going to be after it goes to from Zapier, and there's a couple more steps, right? This is not quite as easy as it looks on the 3 steps, but it can happen, is you're going to have ChatGPT set up those text messages to go into your CRM to set up the automatic text messages. There are a couple of additional tools you'll use with Follow Up Boss, but you can absolutely set it up to where those text messages are automatically going out. Now, if you do want to take this a step further, right? Let's say you're like, okay, a text message is cool, but what if it was a customized video, right? You could do that. There are services out there, such as this one here. This is Be Human, that can actually set up videos that text out to your clients. Now, in this case, I just went through the free option of this, but as you can see where it's highlighted, it says, hey, name. You can set it up to where the leads automatically go into Be Human, and it changes it. So every time it can say, hey, Emily, hey, Deanne, hey, John, hey, Wendy, hey, Anastasia, which is actually a fun story. That's my middle name. But it can go into all of these different platforms, or it can say all the different names, I'm so sorry, and reach out with these semi-custom videos. So imagine having somebody get a video that is semi-custom. Now, I just used one of their templated ones that you have come up, but you can absolutely set up these videos and set up either yourself or a different actor to be able to use it, depending on which service that you're using with here. But imagine that. So somebody reaches out, right? They fill out, and again, remember, they're taking the time to fill out this form. It is, I think, about 4 or 5 different clicks, right? If I remember correctly, it asks you several different questions, right? So you're reaching out, they took the time to do that. And then within minutes of reaching out, they get either that text message or they get that video that says the same thing. And, you could probably even do both, right? So they get this message. And you can set up this message to where now they're getting to know who you are, right? Because what's the saying? Like, I always think that if I know someone in person, or at least I see their face, I'm for some reason a lot nicer to them, right? I am so much nicer to someone when I can see their face, and I'm more willing to talk to them if I reach out to them or they reach out to me ahead of time via a text message or a video message. So in this case, having that extra step of either sending that text message or sending that video right away and getting that speed to lead is important. And Wendy asked, can it connect to Lofty? There are ways, yes, that you can set all of this up to where it does connect to Lofty. Most of the time, you're going to have to use some zaps through Zapier, but it can happen, right? So going back to it. So that was step 1, right? We need to get that speed to lead. Now we're going to look at the next 2 steps, which is starting with that long-term follow-up. Right? And there's really 2 parts to the long-term follow-up, and I'm going to go through them separately so that you guys have an idea. And now this is the part where we are going to get some prompts. So if you do have, your camera ready, if you want the prompts right away, you can get them. You also are going to get these slides. So just as a reminder, you're going to get the slides so you don't have to stress and rush right now, especially if you're trying to watch it on your phone. Well, you will have access to these, including all of the prompts. Okay. So step 2 is going to be to personalize these next 7 days. Right? I don't know about you guys, but when somebody's trying to reach out to me and it's that first time, I probably want something a little bit more personalized than just are you still looking to sell your home? Right? I want something maybe a little bit more personalized. Now, this is not the entire prompt. This is just a preview of it. So if you are taking a picture of this, just keep that in mind. This is not the whole thing. But as you can see from this prompt is designed to have a deep expertise in nurturing unresponsive online seller leads. So let's say of these 10 leads, like 8 of them didn't answer, they didn't respond, and you're wanting to still engage with them. So in these first 7 days, we're going to get more specific. We are going to be very customized with these first conversations, but we also want to do it in a way that's done quickly, right? So we're going to, create this experience where they get a 7-day follow-up plan for a potential seller, right? And our goal is to build that trust through education, social proof. We want to do mixed messaging styles so that it's not just hounded by text messages or hounded by calls. We want to include local market insights and social media content that you've already created. Because the second goal is if they won't talk to you on the phone, then they get to follow your social media. And then, feel like we want it to feel friendly and valuable. We don't want it to be spammy, salesy, or pushy, right? Which can happen. So Alex asks, is there a service that can set this up? There are probably, if you go to Fiverr, there are most likely people who are experts in that and that can set up that initial texting for you. There are also back-end AI tools that can help with that as well. I know Follow Up Boss has an AI extension that can also set with that. Trish says, do be careful of using third-party Zap experts. That is true. When I do that, I like to test a few different people just to see before I give them bigger projects, just to make sure that it'll work. I don't typically spend, do the high dollar ones. I do smaller ones just to see if it works. Now, the question for you guys is, what does this look like, right? When you set up this step 2, personalizing these messages, what does this look like, right? So here's just an example. I went ahead and ran it so that we can see. So in this, the day 2 email, right? It's going to have a couple of things. Obviously, I picked a very specific address of 1306 Churchview, right? And I also use, because I don't know if you guys saw, but Zillow is now connecting with ChatGPT in a much better way. So that's really great, right? That's an amazing thing because it's giving more insights to the data it's pulling. So let's look at what this has done, right? So in this example, right, the subject is your Churchview home, quick positioning notes I'm seeing, right? So it's going in and actually pulling very specific information. Now I'm in Texas, right? Now, one bad thing about Texas is we are a non-disclosure state, meaning that sometimes it's really hard for like online tools and stuff to get close on home values. Now, in this case, it's actually not that far off. It's a little bit low, but it's not that far off. But it does pull some information, right? It pulls the size of the house, when it was built, the land size. It does talk about nearby homes and what they sold for, right? Recent area closings range from the low 300s to the upper 400s, depending on condition and micro location. All of these things are true. And then it also does a call to action. If you'd like, it can send you a 3-minute screen record walking through the most relevant comps and what buyers will notice first, right? So you can use something like Loomly to go through, not Loomly, you can use, Loom. Loomly is something else. You can use Loom to schedule or to record a video and send it to these potential sellers, right? And it's also reaching out to them in more than one way. So not only are we sending them an email, we're also offering to send them the next step, which is that recording of their house. And as you can see, we've got that 2 to 3 minute Zoom where we scroll through Zillow nearby homes, or you can use your MLS. You can also use BombBomb, Chris. That is another option. I like Loom because it's free, whereas BombBomb, you pay for it. But Loom is a great option as well as BombBomb, depending on which one you're using, right? There are a ton of different options. The big thing is also just setting up that follow-up, right? Going through those nearby homes and showing people that you're not just like sending them generic information, right? You're sending them that content that actually is to do. Now, the question is for this. When I say oh, by the way, I'll put this up here so you've got it. If you thought that is the prompt, you're absolutely right. The prompt's about 3 pages long. The way my prompts work, if you go to that QR code and you just hit copy, it copies the entire thing and you paste it right into ChatGPT and it'll ask you for what it needs, just so you're prepped, right? I'll leave that there while I talk. But imagine this. I keep saying the words you, right? I don't know about you guys, but I don't have time to do these things. But what does this do? If you have a 7-day, exactly what you need to do other than filming the videos, because you would kind of want to film those yourself, the rest of this stuff can be done by an assistant. The rest of this can be done by a VA. If you have let's say you've got a marketing pro. Do you think that your marketing person or the person that runs your lead generation can absolutely run these prompts and set these up? Absolutely. Do you think that they could then set them up on their calendar and making sure that they're reaching out individually to all of the new leads that you're getting in those first 7 days? 100%, right? All of this can be set up and run by someone else. And then their job is to tell you, hey, Emily Terrell responded. We now need a 2 to 3 minute loom. They can scroll through Zillow through the nearby homes for church view and highlight the lot acreage matches and explain what narrows the range, right? All of those things can be done by someone else. So if you don't have an assistant, this is where you can start them with lead follow-up. If you do have an assistant, this could be a great opportunity to make sure that they are doing lead follow-up for you every day, especially if you don't have time, right? Because a lot of this, remember, one of the biggest constraints that we have of not following up is going to be time, of losing time, right? Now, do keep in mind, guys, if you do have some specific questions that I'm not necessarily going over, if I don't get a chance to answer them, just reach out to me on Instagram. More than happy to answer that and go over some of the more specific stuff that you're looking for. Now, the good news is this prompt that I do have right here, it is a plug and play prompt, which means when you go to it, copy the whole prompt, paste it into a new thread in ChatGPT, and it'll walk you through this. Now, Clint, just to answer that quick question, it is being recorded and you are getting the slides, so don't worry, you'll have access to this again. And then do stay on all the way to the end, because once you stay on to the end, we'll be doing a poll and they'll be doing a giveaway for a year free zip code. It was sold.com. So now let's move on to step 3. And just to answer real quick, Trish, I am just at Coach Emily Terrell. You can see it on my name, just Coach Emily Terrell. You'll see like a black and white picture of me screaming at the camera. So what are we going to talk about? Well, let's go to step 3, right? Because we talked about a couple of things, right? The first step we talked about was that instant getting back to people, that instant reaching out to them, letting them know that you are going to be reaching out to them. Step 2 was those first 7 days, right? And in those first 7 days, what we'll do is actually create these more custom communication. Now, as I mentioned, both of these can be automated. And then in addition to that, when it comes to the more custom information that you're giving them, that can be set up, and that's where you can leverage other people if you don't have the time. Now, if you do have the time, then absolutely, it's you doing it, right? But if you don't have the time or you have somebody already hired, this is a great place for them to start being able to follow up with your leads. This is a great way to train them how to use the prompt, and then have them, one of the things that is their job every day is to do the custom reach outs for these hotter leads, for these newer leads that you still have within your pipeline, right? Because we don't want to necessarily lose them. Now, I have a question for you. Being that this is the first 7 days, so you reached out the first day, and then you've got the first 7 days. So here we're looking at probably your first 8 touches, right? So we're already, if you're following this, you're already doing better than almost every agent out there by actually just following up more than one time, right? Because if you really look at all of the stats, the amount of drop off is huge after I think it's after the 3rd one, almost every agent is gone, right? So now we're reaching into what only about 10% of agents are doing, and we're reaching out at least 8 times. Now, in saying that though, right, we do need that long-term follow-up. Now, can anybody guess what the average time for an online lead is? Right? What is the average time for an online lead? And I know that there's a slight delay, so I'll give it a second. But the average time, that's what I'm looking for. So go ahead and put it in the chat and tell me what you guys think the average time from an online lead is, meaning from the time that they fill out the the whatever form it is, and in this case, sold.com, to the time that they actually close on a house, right? So that's actually what I'm looking for. A couple people said 6 to 9 months, 3 to 6 months. Robert is the closest at 12 to 18 months, and he's actually pretty spot on. The answer is around 18 months. So meaning, if we have around 18 months of a lead time, what do we need to do? Do you guys think that we need to do a long-term follow-up plan? Now, unfortunately, with the long-term follow-up plan, you probably don't have the power, the manpower yourself or hiring other people to do the custom one, which is why we stick to the custom for those first 7 days, right? Afterwards, we're going to need to semi-tailor it, which means that we are doing a mix of kind of generic content as well as some tasks that actually do long-term drips. Now, the trick is to build long-term drips that sound like you, that don't sound like a robot, right? Now, so what we'll do on that is let's go over step 3. Now, I do like, Gabe, I do like that you did point out that you're going to stick to database referrals. And I love that, right? But keep in mind, not everybody has the option of that. Not everybody has the option of database referrals. Or sometimes maybe they are just starting out in their business and we don't actually have those referrals yet. So while that is the absolute best way to build your business, unfortunately, sometimes that's not always the case, which is why we sometimes stick to some of these other options of doing it. But I do absolutely love that for you, that you're able to run your business amazingly successfully on those database referrals. That is an awesome position to be in, and it's where everybody strives to be. And sometimes, doing these online referrals and getting these past clients is a way in which we can do that. So now that we've passed step 2, right, let's go on to step 3 of what do we do for these long-term follow-ups, right? And of course, I already mentioned we're going to create those monthly touch points using AI. Now, like you said, the trick is to build it that sounds like you. And Trish is right. She did make a comment. She chatted that if you've been using ChatGPT for a while, you can ask it to build a drip that sounds like you. And that's absolutely the case, right? It's absolutely the case that you can do that. As long as you are putting in the right prompts. Now, if you thought that maybe I'll be giving you the prompt, your answer is right. I'll be helping you do that. Now, Michael did ask really quickly before I get into this, can you explain what a database referral is? So a database referral, the first thing is your database, right? That's going to be, the people that your SOI, your past clients, right? These are people that you've put into your CRM and they encompass your database, right? It's going to be maybe somebody that you went to high school with, or maybe people from your church, or, parents from your kids' baseball team, people like that, people that most of the time in real life. And in that case, when somebody asks them, like, for example, we'll just use some easy names. My friend Brittany, right? If somebody comes up to her and says, hey, Brittany, do you happen to know a real estate agent who helped you buy your land? The goal is that she comes to me and says, my friend, or she comes to them and says, my friend Emily, here's her number, right? That's the ultimate goal. Now, in some cases, we don't always have that. So, we're going to use online lead sources. And Beverly even mentioned she lost her database for the next 2 years because it belongs to the firm she just left. So in this case, this is a great alternative for her of doing online leads, right? And building these leads up to be part of your database. So how do we do this, right? Let's getting back to this. How do we do these long-term follow-ups that create these monthly touch points using AI, right? So in this case, I'm going to show you the example, right? In this case, I'm going to show you this example of month 3, right? So in this case, we're asking the potential seller, like, what is, are you curious what your home is worth now? So, hey, Emily, it's been a few months since you checked your home's value through sold.com. We've seen a few interesting sales recently, including homes that sat longer but sold once they adjusted pricing, pricing strategy. Would you like a refresh snapshot based on the last 60 days of activity? Right? So it's a great email that happens to be what's going on in the area, right? Because in San Antonio, pretty much everything is exactly like this. Now, you can also adjust if the market changes, you can adjust your emails, right? But it also still refers back as to where they reach out to us. This way, as they're remembering, as we're communicating the whole time, we're staying true and we are remembering that interaction with them of where they came from. Now, in addition to that, it does also offer 2 additional things that you can do that are a little bit more like you have to do them instead of being the generic drip. This way, if you're working within your CRM, you can complete these tasks. One of those tasks being a text message, letting them know that like maybe 2 homes near Lavernia, which is the area that I picked for this example, just went under contract. Do you want a quick update of what they sold for, right? Now, the cool thing is that's a semi-generic text message. Because in reality, 2 homes in Lavernia are going to go under contract. 2 homes in Lavernia are going to sell, right? Near Lavernia High School, everything is near Lavernia High School. It's a really tiny town, right? All of these are going to be an accurate statement. In addition to that, if you're wanting to take that next step and be a little bit more specific with them, and you don't have to do it every time, it's going back to maybe recording a 60-second, Loom video or bomb or any of the areas with a mini CMA and send it to them via email. Now, you don't have to do this every time, but it does give you that option if you're wanting to go that next step of not just sending the generic email. Maybe it's, every 2 or 3 months you start sending some of these manual tasks and you do some of these every day for people, right? It gives you that idea of reaching out to people in different medium and not just sending emails and not just sending text messages, right? You've got this. Now let's look at what a prompt looks like, right? So we've got a couple different things. So a prompt, and again, this is not the entire prompt, but I'll put the QR code up there for you guys right away. So a prompt in this case, we're asking them to act like a lead nurture specialist to build an 18-month action plan for colder seller leads. And in this case, we're saying specifically from sold.com. Now it can be for any online lead source, but in this case, we're going to talk about sold.com, right? So in this case, right, we're doing a real estate lead nurture specialist with expertise in crafting these high converting long-term action plans, right? And we want this combination of automated messages with a personalized outreach. Now, my question for you guys is remember I talked about using an assistant. Some of these are automated, such as the emails, and depending on which platform you're using, some of the text messages can be automated. But your assistant can come and organize and tell you, hey, I need you to film these 5 Loom videos today. I've done all the research. Here's the information, right? They can go through and build that and set that up for you based on what tasks you need. And based on what, in this case, we use the example of Follow Up Boss, what Follow Up Boss is using, right? Now, in this prompt, the cool thing is it asks you what CRM you're using and what tools within those CRMs that you're using. So for my example, I just said I'm using Follow Up Boss and I'm using their action plans. So it's able to build this full follow-up action plan for me because that's what I'm using. But it also can help you build information and stuff that you can use on smart lists, right? You can use other tools within their system, and you can also use other CRMs. You can tell it to tailor it for something like Lofty, or actually LionDesk isn't a thing anymore, or KV Core or Bold Trail or any of the other, CRMs that you're putting your leads into, right? So, and then it's also, as you can see, it's putting in that idea of the both of them. Now, the question for you is, why do you think I like to use a combination of emails and text messages, and then some of these different types of mediums, such as, videos, and then sending and texting them some of my links to some of the reels that I've done in the past? Why do you think I like to do this? The question is because of the frequency illusion. Okay, the frequency illusion, and for those of you who are not aware of it, what it is when people see you in at least 2 different medium, they think they've seen you everywhere. So even though as you're going on for 18 months and you're only reaching out to them once a month, they think they've seen you everywhere, right? And as some people are saying, like more touches, omnipresence, yes, it's along those same lines, right? They think they've seen you everywhere. And a great example of this is one of my coaching clients. Her name is Amanda. She went to a wedding. This was about a year ago. She went to a wedding and she had a great time at the wedding. She came back and she goes, Emily, like half the wedding guests, it was a small wedding, right? Half the wedding guests came up to me and they were like, oh my God, Amanda, you're killing it. I've seen your signs everywhere. She's like, Emily, I only have like 5 listings right now, but they kept saying that they were singing on every street that they went down. And the difference was they weren't necessarily seeing it on every street. They were just getting her newsletters, and they're getting her social media content, and they're getting, some of the text messages and emails that we've been working with her to send out to everybody. And then then they may see some of her signs, right? But because they saw her in more than one place, they think they've seen her everywhere. Plus, the reason I also like to push towards videos, again, because it shows the face and people are nicer to you if they see your face. And then again, we want to push some of that social media content, because when we're sending that social media content, it encourages them to click the link, go to the video, go to the post that you made. And it could have been an older one, but then start following you. So now you've got another layer of reaching out to them via social media. And it's content that you already should be putting out, right? It's that additional way of reaching out to them without having to spend the money, the time, and the effort reaching out to them. So let's go back to the slides really quickly. For those of you, don't forget, if you haven't already gotten the QR codes and went to this prompt, don't worry, you're going to get access to the slides and you're going to get access to this recording, so you'll have it both. Now, do remember the way these prompts work is it's a lot longer than what it is, but you're just going to copy the entire thing, paste it right into ChatGPT, and if it needs stuff from you, it will ask for it, and so that it can go in and actually take you through that. Now, don't forget, if we've made it this far, guys, we're almost done, and then we're going to do the poll right at the end, and Deanne's going to come and talk to you guys, do the poll, and somebody is going to get a chance to win. So hang on with me if you've made it this far. Now, step 4 is tracking. And I know it's probably our least favorite thing, but tracking is extremely important. And why is tracking extremely important? And it is important because it tells you what's working and what's not, right? For example, is the headline or the subject line that you used on one specific email working or not? If it's not working, you're going to see that. You're going to see maybe a really low reply rate or a low open rate where people aren't even bothering to go in and click on it. And so if what that's showing you is people may need a different email. You may need to go and adjust what you're doing. Or if maybe one of your emails gets a really high reply rate, let's say that like majority, almost everybody replies to it. An example of that is I used to have this text message that I sent out and it said, are you interested in getting your CMA done? And everybody, I think I had like 50% reply rate because everyone would go, what is a CMA? And it was done on purpose, right? Because I didn't want to say competitive market analysis, or comparative market analysis, or equity update. I didn't want to say those things. I wanted to use an acronym in which people would ask. And that single text message, and I sent it about, I think it was like my 5th message, right? It was pretty far back. That single text message has got me more replies than almost any other text message because of the acronym that I used, right? Now, somebody did ask, if the phone number is incorrect and there's no response after 3 or 4 emails, would you door knock and hand deliver the information to be effective in addition to these methods? Absolutely, right? If you're willing to go and door knock, absolutely. Because what that does is it creates an opportunity for you to have a conversation. So absolutely, right? That's a little bit of a different type of method than what we're talking about today, but absolutely. You can also do letters, right? In which you can ask ChatGPT and use the same type of concept to create letters that you can use to reach out to people as well, right? So I would definitely add in anything that you're willing to do. I would definitely add in taking that next step and going online. Right now, somebody asked how you actually get the tracking. So a lot of this is going to be done. Now, this is really just a general screenshot that I took. But a lot of times, if you're using tools such as Follow Up Boss or Lofty or the different tools like that, they actually go through and track all of your emails, and they track every email open rate, click rate, the link clicks, everything like that. Also your text messages and their response rate, the number of phone calls that you're making, how many conversations you're actually having, the phone calls you get in return, and you can have it record. Every CRM does something like that. So you'll be able to track, as long as you're running these through your CRM, you'll be able to track all of that information. So my recommendation is to make sure this is set up through your CRM and everything's running through there. This way you can keep track of and track. Now let's go through really quickly. I'm going to go through the 2 last slides with you guys, and then I'll hand it back over to Deanne. But I just want to make sure we're going to kind of wrap this up and go over some tools and things that I recommended through this, so you guys have a really great example, and it's just a great summary slide for you guys. So for instant response, you're going to use a combination of Zapier and ChatGPT in conjunction with your CRM to make sure that those instant responses are going out. In addition to that, for some CRM automation, my recommendation is to use Follow Up Boss. They also do have a new tool that they are using that they're just now integrating. It's called ACE AI, and that's ACEAI. And what that is ACE AI is an AI tool that they are using with Follow Up Boss to make working within Follow Up Boss a little bit faster, right? And don't worry, Kimberly, I actually am going to, that's going to be the next one, or actually the last one of some a prompt library for you to do, right? Then we're going to use personalized follow-up. If you're wanting to do personalized follow-up, the best writing tool out there for AI is definitely still going to be ChatGPT, right? It's going to be the best tool that I use for writing. Now, the other tools are used for different stuff. ChatGPT, in my opinion, is the best for writing. Right. And then last but not least, that prompt library, Kimberly, the one that I like to use is going to be weeklyrealestateprompts.com. It is going to be where you can get real estate related prompts. So if you're, if you're struggling writing them yourself, weekly real estate prompts just writes them all for you. Okay. Yeah. If you don't want to be a prompt engineer, Bobby, another option for you is going to be DAC Lab. I like to use weekly real estate prompts just because they're already written. But DAC Lab is also another way to do them as well. Right. This one gives you ideas. DAC Lab is just another alternative you can for it because you don't need to be a prompt engineer. I spend all my day writing prompts, but not everybody is. So these are some of the tools that I talked about, some of the things that I went through. Now, what do you need to do? What's the recap of this? Number one, connect sold.com to Zapier and ChatGPT for instant responses. Okay. Number two, set up your CRM for a 7-day and an 18-month nurture workflow. Right? We talked about both of those. Right? Setting up the CRM for a 7-day and 18-month nurture workflow. In addition to that, you're going to create or use a prompt library. So you can start storing and creating your own prompt library or using something else. And, in this case, they said DAC Lab to go through and create some of those prompts and write, or you can use something like weeklyrealestateprompts.com to actually just have and store that prompt library for you and come up with some of those ideas. Number four, monitor your analytics, right? Monitor exactly what you're doing and what's being effective. And then once you've done all of these things, then you want to refine and repeat, right? Figure out the things that are working or not working so that you can then go in and repeat everything that is working and create this engine that you're going through. Now, in saying that, guys, I know I went through a ton of information, and I'm pretty sure I got to almost all of the questions that were there in the chat, right? Chris, I do reach out to me and ask your question, and I can send you some recommendations for some people that could definitely help go a little bit more on a tutorial for this and one-on-one stuff for you. But if you guys do have questions, reach out to me at Coach Emily Terrell. You can scan that QR code. It'll take you directly to my Instagram there. And if not, I will definitely let this go back over to Deanna, and she has some stuff to share with you guys. And of course, as she mentioned, we do have a poll that we need to get finished because we made it all the way through here and we want to get signed up for free stuff. So awesome.
No, this is awesome, Emily. Like everything you went through is so great. And like the things I like to highlight is because, majority of the people that are on our webinar are people that are already in our network. And I saw questions that were coming up that were sold.com specific that obviously, as much as you've done with sold.com, I don't expect you to have all the answers too. One day I will expect you to have all those answers. But one of the things that stood out to me, especially as the people on this call are part of our network, is the stats that you shared, is the expectations, right? I think that with online leads, we all get caught up in this space of if they're not ready to move forward right now, it's a bad lead, right? And I think some of that is the world that we live in of instant gratification, right? We want everything now. If we're on a diet, we want to eat one salad and lose the weight immediately. Whatever we're doing, we want that instant gratification. But the reality is, like you said, most leads are going to take about 18 months, whether they're buyers or they're sellers. And any lead company that's telling you different, you may want to pause and maybe second guess if that's the right decision you want to make. With sold.com, what we know is that our clients are top of funnel sellers. So I think this is just a good, Emily just gave everybody a bunch of amazing prompts and amazing ways to use ChatGPT to work smarter and be more effective. But it does come down to building out those nurture flows, but also having the right expectations of knowing that these people are going to take time. So I like starting with this of key stats with sold.com, which is what we know is that sold.com agents convert approximately on average 17% of the people that we connect them with. And so, Emily, you've obviously been in this business as an agent, you've been in this business as a coach. And so you know how proud of that number we should be, because the industry average is about 2%. So most lead generation companies, their agents are the online average is 2% of leads convert. Our agents are seeing 17% conversion. 47% of the appointments that we set up, and I'll dive into that more again as a refresher, but sold.com sets up appointments for you to meet with the consumer. If you're not receiving appointments from us, I'll talk about that next in my next slide, but 47% of the appointments that we set up list with an agent within 12 months. Like that's a ton of opportunity that exists there. Appointments close faster, but agents, like some of you were calling out, like, hey, some of these I don't get a text message on, I only get an email. Those are the people that we did not make contact with. What we see is that about 22% of all leads convert in a year. So again, there is a ton of opportunity that does happen in that first year, but I would much rather have people go in with the mindset of it's going to take me about 18 months to really see sold.com success come into fruition. And although we are seller focused, we know that about 82% of the clients that we speak to that are selling a house are also going to be having buyer opportunities too. So you can double dip. Emily, anything to comment on there with those stats? Sorry to put you on.
Right. No, you're good. You're good. I had to figure out where the unmute was. Okay. I mean, honestly, like these stats are they're pretty spot on of like what I talked about, right? That it really is like the way to be successful with online leads in general is going to be that long-term follow-up. Everybody wants that instant gratification. You know, they want to have a lead that closes right away, but nobody is willing to actually do that long-term follow-up. And so it's really important when you're using these online leads and when you're building out these systems is that you have that capacity and the knowledge to be able to follow up long term.
And now you have the tools, right? Because I think a lot of times we get stuck and we're like, well, I don't know what to say. Now with AI, you don't have to think about those things. Like the AI portion is going to do all the thinking for you, which scares me within itself because I get nervous about like, we all just don't have to think anymore because AI takes that out of it. But if we can use it for all the good things, like you shouldn't be stuck in a spot of, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to overcome that objection. I know I should be doing this, but I don't know what to say. Literally go talk to ChatGPT. Like I talk to it as if it's like another human, right? Like I've had arguments with my spouse and I went to ChatGPT and said, here's what happened. What do we move forward from here? And so there are so many different things you can use AI for. There is no reason in all realms of our life that we should ever have that question mark of I don't know what to do. Even if it's like, hey, I am not converting any sold.com leads and I don't know what's happening. Here's the scenario. What can I be doing differently? You can literally have a really transparent conversation with it there because it's unbiased, right? So you're never going to feel like, it's just saying that, right? Because we all have that feeling if you call a lead generation company and they stand up for their lead volume or their lead quality, you're like, of course you're going to say that. You work for the company. ChatGPT doesn't work for anybody, right? You're going to get an unbiased response of, is there potentially something you could be doing differently to see success? And 9 times out of 10, there is, right? Am I saying that leads that you're going to get from sold.com, that every single one of them is going to be gold and there's going to be opportunity in every one of them? Not necessarily. If you really want to like get creative, you can say maybe not with that client, but you can make a friend and maybe get a referral out of them. And that's a major creative way of looking at it. But there is opportunity if you put in the effort, and the effort can't stop after your first or second attempt. It has to be long-term, and ChatGPT will help you do that. So for those of you guys on the call who have not been in a place to receive the amount of appointments maybe you've wanted to receive, or that you've just never received an appointment from us, I like to highlight how it works. I'm going to pop up something on the screen right now, which is a promotion. So while I'm talking, for those people who want to take advantage of it, they can. But I think it's important to first understand what this promotion is. And then right after this, I'm going to do a quick poll, which will enter you into a raffle to win a free zip code for a year. So hang with me for 2 minutes. So how does sold.com assign leads? Concierge is going to call every client that comes into our site. Once a concierge calls them and we set up an appointment, we go to the zip code and we look at all of the agents who have a profile with sold.com. So in this example, 47630, this is a real life screenshot of the agents that we have that have put 47630 onto their profile. Our algorithm now says, based off of these agents' performance, put them in order of who has the highest likelihood to convert this lead with sold.com. And so we take into consideration your MLS performance, but also if you've received a sold.com lead from us in the past, how did you convert it, right? So that ranking goes into play. So if you're in 47630 and one of you guys are on this call, this is what the back end looks like. So now sold.com has an appointment in 47630. What happens? We text David Woods first every single time and say, David, do you want this appointment? David is in that spot because either organically he has the most sales in 47630, or he's converting sold.com leads. And so either way, stats wise, it says it's in sold.com's best interest to give David all of the opportunities first. If David doesn't respond and claim that appointment in 30 minutes, we go down to Rick. If Rick doesn't reply in 30 minutes, we go to Teresa. And so you're catching my drift of how it works, right? So Gavin, although ranked number 10, is reliant on hopefully all of those people above him not taking the appointment that we set, right? So Gavin is in a position, Gavin, Julie, William, Andrew are all in a position where they're in a backup spot, right? And so although he's in a placement, he is going to have a less likelihood of getting lead volume from sold.com because David, Rick, and Teresa always are going to have the first shot first. So what can you do? If you're a brand new agent, how can you control that? Which is where that promotion comes into play that I have on the page. We allow for you to feature yourself in a zip code. And so what that means is, if I go back to this page, is if you optionally pay to feature yourself, you now go above David. It says, who cares about performance? Who cares about your track record? You can pay to feature yourself. And instead of David being first, you'll be first. And so that's where that pricing comes up on the page, which is $600 for the year, which is for an annual promo that we are running. Traditionally, prices start at about $1,200 a year per zip code. There are some that are a little bit less, like $1,020, but they're on average about $1,200 a year to feature yourself. And reality is, even at full retail price of $1,200 for a year, that's still a steal to be featured and get the priority of everything. But this gives you an even deeper steal on that, right? You're able to take advantage of paying $600 and get yourself featured in a zip code. What we also know is that we can tell you predictive volume. So when you talk to our team, by filling out the form on that link, it will actually make it so that it prompts our team to call you and talk you through your options. So you're not actually going to buy zip codes straight through that link. I'm going to put it in the chat too, in case anybody has any trouble filling out or clicking on that link. And so $600 a year is what that promo is for any zip code. And we can help you choose the best one, right? If you're in Jackson, Mississippi, 39212 might be the best zip code for you, because we can tell you that you're going to get introduced to 162 potential sellers over the course of that year. If you buy 3 zip codes, we actually give you one for free. So there's a lot of incentives of, if you decide to feature yourself in multiple, if you feature yourself in 5, we'll give you 2 for free. So that is how it works. If you are, like I said, we're nearing the end of 2025. These are sellers, those people who wait to advertise when spring hits, you've missed the boat. You need to advertise now. People are looking now. Giving you insight into my personal life. We just went under contract on a brand new home 4 days ago. It's winter time, right? It's all the time that everyone thinks like, oh, no one's doing everything. Everybody's looky-loos. Like, no, we just made a move because it's strategic for us. Interest rates are dropping. My husband's a mortgage broker, so I hear it all the time in the office. We work from home, so I hear them on the other side. Interest rates are dropping. Your buyers are coming off of the fence, and they're very nervous that the interest rates aren't going to continue dropping. So like, the time is now to start getting your buyers off the fence and get your sellers off the fence onto the market too, because I'm in California, and we are starting to already see multiple offer situations with houses getting over asking. So the time is now to start doing something. Do not wait until your spring and summer markets to do something. Do something while you can. Start to build that pipeline for maybe the now, but more likely your spring and summertime, when people are getting their kids out of school. And then take advantage of promos like this, where you're paying $600 for a year. That breaks down to $50 a month. I don't know about you guys, but I spend far more money on things that have zero potential of giving me a return on investment. And so that is something to think about, raise your hand on, fill out that form, look at chat. On to the raffle. I am going to pop up a poll. This should come across your entire screen and give you a poll asking you a question of, what do you like to learn more about featuring yourself in zip codes? This helps us understand a lot of things, right? Where the audience mindset is. Just because you answer the question, it does not mean that you're going to get called on anything. So if you're not interested and you're like, thanks for the info, Deanna, no, thank you. This poll will enter you in our raffle. So as soon as I close out this poll, it will actually start the raffle out, and it will make it so that we actually give a year out. So even if you said, no, I'm not interested at this time, it still enters you in the raffle. So do not be afraid to put in no. It will still enter you in the raffle to win the free year of a zip code. And it'll be a zip code of your choice. We're not limiting that. As long as it's available, you'll still have access to that. So fill that out. I want to give it a couple of seconds since we are at the end of our time slot. Give it a couple seconds for everyone to fill that out. It looks like I have 139 responses, 315 people on the call. So do not fill it out for the sake of, I don't want to. Enter yourself in the raffle, right? Why wouldn't you take a free zip code if you can? Let me stop sharing my screen. Let me pull this up. And I told Emily this at the start of the call. This is our first time ever raffling off a free zip code as part of our webinar. And so, although very cool, this is our first time using this feature in the webinar piece. So like, we're gonna really hope that this all works the way that it should work. And if it doesn't, we have all of your names from the polls and we will do it offline. So
it'll work. I have faith. I have faith in it.
Too, right? Okay, so I'm gonna be closing the poll ability to answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Closing. All right, all answers are submitted. Cool. Now we're going to pull up this raffle. Let's see what we do here. Okay, launch giveaway. And it says spin. All right, here we go. It looks like it's working. Emily, can you see it? Oh, that's even a backwards thing. This says, all right, Shannon, we don't have your last name here, but it will give it to me on the back end because it'll tell me the answer on the back end, or it'll give me all of your data of what you registered with. So Shannon, you are our lucky winner of a free zip code just by filling out the poll, by attending our webinar. This experience worked perfectly. So thankfully the raffle worked well and you guys can see it. So Shannon, congratulations. Like I said, I will get your contact information from the back end of your registration info. And I think this is a cool experience. I think it's great to have a raffle and have something at the end. So hopefully we would do this moving forward. Emily, thank you so much for all of the information you gave. Like you said multiple times, this call is recorded and we will be sharing the slides with you afterwards as well. And then for anybody who did fill out the form, expect a call from our team shortly from a 949 phone number. That $600 promo does end tomorrow, end of business. So answer your phone and grab that if it is something that you want to do. And then Shannon, like I said, we will be in contact with you so we can get that zip code added. Emily, before I let everybody go off into the world, any last words?
Oh, really? I mean, guys, good luck, really. AI is not as scary as it is. And the good news is it's really forgiving for the most part. So just go in there, play around with some prompts, and then pretty soon you'll be an AI expert as well, and you'll be able to do all of this. And maybe you'll be up here teaching this class next time.
Exactly. Reach out when you become the AI expert.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a great end of your week. And I look forward to seeing you on November's coaching call, where we actually have Tom Ferry himself on our call. So please look out for that in our event center of your portal, but Tom will be on our webinar next month.
I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty honored that I'm being followed by Tom. I got to lead. I got to lead Tom.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.